Welcome to a delayed episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast, brought to you by Comfort Mechanical Contractors, Durham's premier commercial HVAC installation and service company. For more information, go to comfortmc.com or call 919-383-2502. I'm your host, Brian Kennedy, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts Josh Cox, Jamie Holt, Scott Medlin, and we're back from the woods of enlightenment after the big Pitt win. And I don't think anything major happened this week, guys. Haven't seen the news, haven't really gotten on Twitter or Facebook. And so let's just get down to it. What happened? No, I'm just kidding. We obviously know what happened. The big news, Mike Elko, like the Baltimore Colts in 1983, decided in the middle of the night it was time to pick up his stuff and go. My man went to Texas A&M and said goodbye as he was taken off from the Raleigh-Durham airport. And we've got a lot to discuss. Obviously, the Elko departure. We've got other departures that have happened. What is in future what's the future of Duke football? Who's going to be the coach? We've got a lot to get to. So maybe it was a good thing that we delayed our recording until Thursday night. So this is the time where we usually give our thoughts, each one of us, but we're not doing that tonight. We have no post-game presser. We're not going to talk about Pitt. We're just going to get down to the mailbag. We have a lot of questions. We figured this would happen with the delay in recording. So, Jamie, you've been compiling all the questions for the last couple of days. Are you ready? Are we ready to go? Because this is going to be another Santa-sized mailbag.
All right, spoiler alert. I was waiting to catch up on all my news after I had been in exile for several days. I didn't realize that Coach Elko left. Oh my God, what a shock!
It happened.
Yeah, so we got several questions. We got some thoughts. I'm gonna start on Facebook with Jason Shelton, and we're gonna kick this off talking about he who shall not be named. We've all read about how Elko left, but did he truly leave that way and not communicate with the players as rumored? And we've talked about this a lot. It's for me, it's not the why he left. Yep. It's the how he left. Right? I mean, I'll shoot it to you, Josh.
Well, it's not that he left. It's how he left, right? And so Jason, to answer the question, from everything that we've been told, he did not communicate with the players in person. What happened was Sunday afternoon, evening, he met with the players and told them that he had been offered the position, but there was going to be a 24-hour waiting period. And then by 11:45 that night, he was on a plane to College Station, and there was a brief, maybe 5 minutes or less, Zoom call on Monday to inform the players via Zoom. And so, at the end of the day, my thought on that is if Texas A&M wants him as their coach, they absolutely can wait 12 hours. They can wait 12 hours. He could say, listen, I'll be on a plane by 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, and I'll be there. But at 8 o'clock on Monday morning, I've got to call another meeting with my players. And honestly, listen, you guys, the four of us understand, and I hope our listeners do. Man, Mike Elko has helped us out like tremendously. He accepted us as kind of like a secondary mouthpiece for the program. He hooked us up with media stuff and even behind the scenes stuff that wasn't media. And so we owe him a whole lot. But at the end of the day, I did not expect him to do that. I would have expected him to face those guys in person and let them know. So is that disappointing? You better believe it. Does it leave a sour taste in our mouths? Yeah, of course it will. We're Duke fans.
Well, when we go back and look, and we were talking about this before we hit the record button, it seemed like there were some signs, but we as Duke fans really didn't see it until after the dust had settled. I know Jordan Mann of the Big J and Little J podcast, he mentioned it on their podcast. I'm going to say the same thing. Every game this year, when that horn went off, they went to the camera of the team walking out. It was like clockwork. Elko came out on time, touched the rock. They showed the players and coach coming down the tunnel. The Pitt game, they start the siren up, they start the video up, and they show the camera. And it's just the doors to the locker room. And we're waiting. All of a sudden, you see Mike Elko come out. And folks, if you weren't at the game, let me just tell you, the man looked like he was about to puke. He had this face that he was he couldn't hold in what he had eaten for lunch and was about to throw up. So I looked at Jordan. I said, something's not right here. And Jordan said, yeah, that's weird. I said, one, they're never delayed. And two, Elko's always like energized, ready to go, coming out of the tunnel. My man looks like he's about to go next to a trash can and puke. So that was one thing noticed, really just went off. It's like, you know what? It is what it is. He's probably just nervous. End of the year. There's some other things. And Scott, I think you mentioned something too that we'll talk about, or I'll let you talk about here in a second. But it's plain and simple, folks. We knew Mike Elko was going to leave. We just didn't know when. He's always wanted to go back to SEC country. Or go to Notre Dame. We genuinely thought that we would have him for a couple more years. And again, to Josh's point, had he come out and said, folks, I'm leaving. Thank you for the 2 years that you've given me to hone my skills, but I've got to go to Texas A&M. Thank you for everything. Have that talk with the players. Then get on a plane Sunday morning, take off into the sun and to the rising sun to College Station. I really don't think any Duke fan, any Duke parent, any Duke player would be upset. But it's sometimes the things that you say as a coach, and again, we're not coaches. We've never coached, at least collegiately. That was said leading up to it, I think stung players and left that bad taste in their mouth. I'm staying. I'm not going anywhere. It's not the fact that he left, it's how he left. Waking up the next morning going, what's this photo of? Oh my God, that's Mike Elko getting off of a plane. We're at College Station. So folks, it's over. Well, not for us to talk about, but it's over that Mike Elko is no longer a part of this program. We collectively, as a fan base, have to move on after this week is over. Scott?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Brian and Josh have said so far. Definitely, it just how it was done. That's my biggest issue, how it was done. And, it is what it is. Can't change it. You just have to live with it and accept it. You don't have to like it. You just got to live with it. One of the things that, going back, Brian was talking about signs that were there. I saw a video after the fact, I think it was Monday night, where as Elko was walking off the field, he threw his hat up into the stands and a fan caught it and they were very excited. You don't see that happen at the end of the season a lot. And then one other thing was, we had heard that the whole family was there at the press conference after the game. Another thing, so 2 and 2 didn't equal 4 there like it should have, but it is what it is at this point.
Hey, Scott, let me mention one more thing.
Go ahead.
This is just something silly. I work basketball, and I was at the game Friday night, so the night before, and I noticed the entire family up there. Not Mike and Michelle, but his parents and his kids, all 5, all up there. So I thought that was interesting, and I leaned over to someone and I said, "Man, it makes you feel like maybe," he said, "Hey, if you want to get to a basketball game, you need to go now." And I was laughed at. And then later it's like, oh yeah, you may have been right. So the little small signs, when you piece all of it together, you're like, yeah, he was letting us know, or it was obvious. If you don't piece it together, though, if you just view them individually, you'd be crazy. So anyway.
And I'm the conspiracy theorist of the group, so I was thinking that he probably knew before the Pittsburgh game that he was going. Some people are saying that the Stoops deal fell apart afterwards and all that stuff. I don't know. I think the 2, like what Scott said, 2 and 2, the hat throw, what Brian said, he looked like he was physically going to get ill walking down the tunnel. I feel like he knew that was his last time on the field.
Yeah, but from sources that we've heard said that Nina was working to try to keep Mike up until he got on the plane to leave for College Station.
Oh yeah, I read. I can't remember who reported it, but I read that he left the plane waiting on the tarmac at RDU for 90 minutes. So and they were claiming that they didn't even know if he was coming or not. They had no clue. So I guess he was maybe on the phone with Nina or meeting with Nina. Who knows what was
And
going on behind the scenes.
And we'll never know that conversation. That's something that will never come out, will never be discussed. But it makes you wonder. And Josh said this earlier. He said, I've given them a 24-hour notice. Let me think about it. It makes you wonder if Texas A&M came back and said, Mike, we're giving you until this time. If you want to be the coach, we're going to need to know an answer by this time. At which point he might have gone back to Nina and said, look, I'm at a hard deadline. Let's try to discuss what we can do for me to stay. If not, I've got to go. And I guess things just didn't work out to where the administration and Elko could see eye to eye, and he's in College Station, and now program's looking for another coach.
All right. We're going to discuss one more question to do with Elko, and then we're going to move on because Duke football needs to move on. Chris McCurdy says, what was our favorite memory of Elko's time in Durham, and what was our least favorite? I'll start since I'm already unmuted. Some people probably would say their favorite was the Clemson win, but my favorite actually was, I think, the Military Bowl. That was just fun. I mean, all the Duke fans that showed up, with it being, I think, the second largest alumni base for Duke, like DC, right, that area. So there was like just a ton of Duke fans. We had the huge tailgate. That was amazing. And then Duke obviously won easily. And that was my favorite memory during Elko's time. My least favorite, getting punked by the ACC and their favorite team, Chapel Hill College, twice. So that's definitely my least favorite.
I'll go next. I got to the unmute button before everyone else did. Actually, my favorite memory was the first game under the Mike Elko era, the Temple game, where Duke shut out Temple 30-0. A lot of questions coming in. Can Mike Elko coach? Will his coaching staff be able to produce a winning team? And he silenced the naysayers pretty quickly with the 30-0 win. And then obviously we as Duke fans got spoiled these last 2 years going to the Military Bowl, and now, of course, a bowl coming up in this December, which we'll talk about here shortly. My worst memory, this past Sunday. Again, it's not the why you left, but it's the how you left. I think any coach that would do that in college football, the fan base would riot. And the fact that there was no, like what Riley did last night when he announced that he was transferring out, Riley left a 7-page essay to everyone, thanking everyone that had been a part of his life while at Duke. Mike Elko couldn't even get a release out. And I think he realized even if he had a release be sit out, Duke fans wouldn't have cared at that point. So, again, it's not the how, it's the why, but it is what it is. Who's next?
All right, I'll go. I think my favorite, and I'll be quick. I think my favorite, and this is going to sound awkward because Elko would probably punch me for saying this, it was the Notre Dame atmosphere. Not the let's put it this way, all the way up to the middle of the fourth quarter of the Notre Dame game. That entire day, having College game day here, seeing the additional bleachers being put in, seeing that place packed out, hearing the crowd noise, and then realizing we're going to win this football game, barring something crazy. And then something crazy happened. But I would say leading up to that 3 minutes to go in the game, Notre Dame was my favorite. I would say my least favorite. My least favorite would have to be specifically, Jamie, not just losing to Carolina. My least favorite would have to be last year's UNC game when Jalen Calhoun caught the touchdown. We were going crazy in the stands, and then we saw the flag. I think that was the lowest of the low specifically. So, Scott.
Okay, I guess my favorite would be, it's kind of a tie, and I'm going to split the difference here because this is the last time we talk about it. So, the Military Bowl, just the atmosphere, the everything about that, the fact that we were all able to be there, we had a great time in the whole, and the Clemson game. The atmosphere of the Clemson game was unbelievable, and to me, I didn't get to enjoy it as much as everybody else because I was in my medical tent. But other than that, the part of the game that I was there for, though, was awesome, and it was great. Least favorite, again, probably both of the Chapel Hill College games, and not for the same reasons, because both times we gave the football back to Drake May with an opportunity to win or tie, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do when we gave him the football. And That sucks, but it is what it is. But hey, for what it's worth, appreciate you, Coach. We enjoyed having you here while you were here. Wish you could have stayed longer, but you didn't. So go have fun there with the Aggies, and we'll get somebody new in here to take your place and hopefully do a better job.
All right. Moving along. Mike Elko, never heard of her. I went through all these questions during the day today and did not see one about the bowls. So,
Hey, Jamie, real quick before we move on from this, just my last statement, and then seriously, let's all remember this is like an actual dude that has a family. He's got a wife. He's got kids. Like, and every single one of you, if you got double your salary with incentives, if you're going to win national title to get $11 million, every single one of you would have gone. You would have done it the way he did it. I get it, but you would have gone. So let's just be very aware.
I mean,
I don't know. I think I would have hopped a plane in the middle of the night. Like I would, for that kind of money, I'm hopping a plane in the middle of the night.
I mean, guys, I've got a limo waiting for me right outside the house. The Section 18 podcast is waiting for me to give a decision. So this might be my last episode.
Easy.
Listen,
we got a
the
question.
Section 16 podcast offered me. Okay, I'll wait because they offered me.
Easy.
Listen.
The decision.
Okay, sorry.
For what
I've been entertained by the DBAP. So,
hey, if we can get this audio to Nina King right now, I will take $1 million to coach the team this next season.
There you go.
While you spend the next 365 trying to find the one person to replace my big butt.
There you go. All right, next question.
all right. So where was I? I went through all the questions, and if I missed one, I apologize if somebody did question about the bowls, but I wanted to send this to Brian, our resident bowlitologist. Where do you think we're heading, Brian, coming up to Sunday when we actually get to see where we're heading?
Yes. No. So the obvious bowl after the Pitt game was the Duke's Mayo Bowl. But there's a team in Virginia that has come on strong. And they have, honestly, a bigger, better traveling fan base. And I'm talking about one Virginia Tech Hokies. I'm hearing that they are making a lot of rumblings and that the Duke's Mayo Bowl could possibly pick Virginia Tech over Duke. Now, remember, folks, if a team is within one win of a team higher, they can leapfrog that team. But say Duke was 8-4, Virginia Tech was 6-6, they could not pick Virginia Tech. But since they're one win apart, Virginia Tech's in play. I've started hearing the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa. I can't make that game. I don't think any one of us can make that game just because of the date and how it coincides with Christmas. At this time, I'm unsure of Thursday night at 8:30 as we're recording. I will say probably Sunday morning after Josh says amen and we'll see you next week, I will come out with my last bowl projections before Selection Sunday commences. I believe it's at 2:00 when they start announcing.
No,
Scott?
12 o'clock is the Final Four
Okay.
or the bowl playoff.
Okay.
2:30 is the New Year's Six, and then it starts trickling from there to which conference is the one that comes out the next. And that formula is never the same.
Well, I've got more time, which great, perfect. All I will say is this, Duke fans, I am actively looking for breaking news when it comes to the bowl games because I know a lot of you have asked me and are looking to hopefully travel to the bowl to support these guys in their time of need. Fingers crossed, it is the Duke's Mayo Bowl, so all four of us can be down there to cheer on the team. If I hear anything, I will certainly retweet it out. But as of this moment, I am unsure where we will be.
Hey, if any of the Duke's Mayo Bowl representatives are listening, give us Texas A&M in Charlotte. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Jamie, you bring up a very good point because these bowls want ratings. If you want Duke's Mayo Committee, I know you're going to be watching this tomorrow as it releases. I know it. I know you watch every episode. If you want your ratings, and if you want the Bank of America Stadium to be near capacity, more than what the Carolina Panthers have had this year, book it. Duke versus Texas A&M. I promise you, you will not go against what we are asking you. It would be a crazy game. And I don't think Elko would be anywhere near that stadium. Let's just get that one out of the way. he would be watching the game from College Station.
And last time Duke and Texas A&M played in a bowl, it was a crazy atmosphere in Atlanta. So that was fun. Ed Turlington on Facebook. He has more of a comment than a question, so I just thought I'd read it. I continue to believe Duke can win at football, as we all do. Also, he says that he's proud of Nina King and her leadership, and he says thanks for our podcast. And I think we'd all agree that Nina has stepped up to the plate again in a face of adversity. At Taylor Given, moving on to some transfer portal stuff here. Do we know who has entered the transfer portal so far? So obviously we do. Have we seen any of the commits change their minds? And we were just kind of that was a rough day. Yeah, not really. That was a rough day yesterday, seeing that Riley was entering the transfer portal. Although we had kind of talked about it all year, like back and forth, like we had wondered what would happen, whether Riley would go pro or
Riley wasn't leaving until Elko happened. I don't think Riley was leaving at the end of the season, but we did have a little birdie, maybe let us know that it was happening, so we were able to get our video ready. And I think the video originally was supposed to kind of be funny, we were thinking that was the vibe Tyler was going for, like it'd be funny because Jamie. But then you actually watch it, it's like, no, this is actually really sad. We're gonna actually really miss Riley. So
there were Duke fans saying that they cried, and I mean, that was an emotional video for sure. The music he put in the background and everything. Kudos, Tyler.
Yeah, that was good. But no, so Jalen Stinson announced today, which is Thursday. Obviously, Aeneas Peebles announced. I mean, those are big time. But here's the deal: both of those are grad transfers. Mm-hmm. Charlie Ham announced he's a grad transfer. Like, by the way, like grown freaking adults. Real quick, listen up. Like these kids, especially on grad transfers, like most people want to get a graduate degree from somewhere they didn't get their undergrad from. Like there is no reason these that we ought to expect any of these players to stay for a fifth season. The fact that a lot of them did last year does not mean they're going to continue to do that. And so, like, anyways, I see people like getting mad about it. And it's like, no, these guys are getting their degree. They're walking and graduating from Duke University. If they want to go somewhere else to get their master's degree, like have that and be happy for them. Like I wish I was 22 years old and had those options available to me. So we don't know who else is going to go. We have no idea. But at the end of the day, Duke's going to have to hit the portal, and these recruits that we've been bringing in, we're going to have to keep them.
All right, and along the same lines, Tyler, our guy at Splash Obi, asked, he wanted to know if I was okay after the Raleigh news. And I am, I laid on the couch and maybe sobbed a little. I mean, you know what happens when, grown men. I'm 40, what am I, 45? And
how old are you?
I have a 14-year-old son. Dear Riley. But we're going to absolutely miss Riley Leonard and his family. That's another thing that a lot of people don't see is Riley's family is great, and we've enjoyed getting to know them and getting to talk to them and getting to talk to Riley a couple of different times on interviews and such. He's just a good solid kid, and he's going to do great things up at Notre Dame. Oh, or he hadn't announced that yet. I'm sorry.
That's the rumor. That's the rumor.
My bad.
That's the rumor.
My bad.
Hey, look, for what it's worth, though, I hope he gets the NIL money so that his parents are able to fly from Alabama to wherever instead of having to drive like they did from North Carolina each weekend. Because that, to me, would be a plus of him getting the NIL money.
Jamie, have you stopped playing I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston on repeat since he announced? I'm just checking.
It's still going. It's kind of, I don't know if y'all can y'all hear the faint music in the background?
I thought it was I'll Be Watching You or something. Next.
All right. Moving on to some future head coach talk. Our guy Jordan, who we had on the pod last week and the last couple of weeks, at Duke FB Fans, he wants to know who do each of us want to be the next head coach. And I kind of, I'll go again first since I'm unmuted, but kind of fell for the idea of Manny Diaz, to be honest. But I also want Trooper to get his shot as well, if I'm being honest. So if we hire in, you got Trooper, you got Kevin Johns, you got Santucci. I kind of did fall for the idea of Manny Diaz, so I mean, I wouldn't be mad at
Jamie,
that.
how many guys you going to mention, bro? We don't have any. When the rest of us aren't going to have anybody left to talk about.
What
There's
about
a
Nick Saban? Is Nick Saban on your list?
Larry Fedora.
There's a guy in Charlotte who lost his job, Frank Reich. He's no,
Actually, Jamie, the
Absolutely
question is
not.
better for you. What is the more desirable job in the state of North Carolina right now? The Duke football job or the Carolina Panthers job?
It's obviously Duke. Like, yeah. I mean, Tepper's got all that money, but good Lord, I don't know that I'd want to work for him.
Yeah, I'll give you my answer real quick too. It's going to mirror Jamie's. If it's an outside hire, I really do like the Manny Diaz thing. I thought Manny Diaz got let go at Miami after having 3 winning seasons and going 7-5, and then they got Cristobal in and had a losing season, which I thought was actually hilarious. Classic Miami, but I do love the fact also Miami is like a private university. It's kind of similar in those ways. I know that you don't really think of Duke and Miami being similar, but honestly, you've got a coach that, and I know this is dumb, but he's kind of used to the culture of like trying to drum up fan support and things like that. This is not a jab at Duke or Miami, to be honest with you, it's just reality. So I like that idea of Manny Diaz. I also like the fact that David Feely, who by the way has not gone to Texas A&M as of right now, not to say he won't, but as of right now, he is not. David Feely, who else? Coach Ish, the cornerbacks coach, was from Miami. Maybe one more that I'm missing from the staff, but I know those 2 guys all were at Miami under Diaz, and so I think that could be interesting. Then internal, I'm a Trooper guy internally. I love Kevin Johns. Here's my thing: why I say Trooper internally. I believe if Trooper's the internal guy, I think there's a chance that we could keep both Santucci and Johns. And here's why. Well, I'm not going to be critical. I don't think Santucci will be back at A&M. That's just my opinion. I have reasons. And it looks like that Elko is putting together like a search for an OC. Doesn't mean that Kevin Johns is not on that search list, but it looks like they're looking for an OC. And you would think if Johns was coming, they wouldn't announce basically that they're looking for an OC. Those are my thoughts.
Didn't Elko retain the current defensive coordinator?
I think that may have been part of the deal, right, Scott? Is that right?
Yeah,
so there's a Santucci thing. Yeah,
I don't think there'd be another co-defensive coordinator. I'll go next. Seems like y'all have pretty much put out everyone. I'll tell you who's not going to be the coach of Duke. Let's just get that out of the way. Kurt Cigarettes, as I called him, he signed with Indiana. And as much as some of you fans are not going to like what I'm about to say, Jamie Chadwell at #the Lord School, he's not coming to Durham. And I'm going to repeat what I said in the Twitter room that Scott and Jamie and I were a part of earlier this week. Liberty's debt-free. Chadwell's getting paid $4 million a year for the next 7 years, which is basically right around where Elko, we think he was paid. Correct, fellas? Yeah. And his beliefs line up with the core values of the school, whether you're a religious person or not. I've got some sources. They've got the Conference USA title game tomorrow night. I'm waiting to hear back from that source to see what they have to say. It's on Liberty's radar that Chadwell is a candidate or is a popular candidate amongst these Power 5 schools. But I'll put it to you this way, Duke folks. Let's say Duke came to Chadwell. I don't think he's even interviewed because he's currently focused on the Conference USA title. And they said, we'll give you $5 million. You know what Liberty would say? Cool, here's $7 million. We can do this all day long. That's something that not a lot of schools can afford right now, to just throw money at a coach. Liberty can. I'm going to stop. That's all I'll say. That's the last you'll hear of it from me. But
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Brian's not going to reply to my rebuttal. My rebuttal is he can win the Conference USA title every single freaking year, and he's not even going to make the top 12. You can't respond, Brian. You've already said you're not going to respond. He can win the Conference USA title every year, and he's still going to be ranked 24th right now in the college football playoff. He might get up to like 18 maybe 17 if they win and a bunch of people lose. He will never win a national title. And if he is a winner,
Brian's going to respond.
Brian is going to respond. He's already said he's not going to respond. And no. Brian is a man of his word.
Yeah. Jamie Chadwell, I think Chadwell could be waiting for like his perfect job, if you know what I'm saying. And that may not be Duke. So
yeah,
Scott,
like when Dabo leaves Clemson or something. Yeah.
I think it's more like Chadwell's looking for the free range chickens down there in Colombia. But I'm going to go off the beaten path here. It just is somebody I would be interested in seeing. I would be interested in Charles Huff from Marshall. Just knowing what he's done with what little bit he has there at Marshall, the resources and their quarterback, and if they've had a good couple years while he's been there. As if we're going to go internally, obviously, I mean, I think Trooper should be the guy, could be the guy. If you didn't get on the DDC earlier, very impressive guy. I mean, he definitely to me should wow a lot of people, and hopefully, if Nina wants to stay internal, that's the guy to go with. As far as Manny Diaz, I'm okay with him, but there's some of these other guys. This Alex Atkins, I don't know who he is. I never heard of him. Somebody said Al Golden the other day. Heck no, he couldn't win at Miami. Heck no. No offense to Jim Knowles. I mean, maybe he could be a coach, but no, I'm not. That's not my guy. I think we stay either in the Manny Diaz realm, and somebody even said Tony Gibson from State, because there was a rumor that he actually went down to Mississippi State last weekend before they hired their coach. So, I mean, maybe that's a guy too, just because he's local and because of the ties. But I mean, I like Manny Diaz or Charles Huff personally.
All right. Moving on to at J. Hayward. Do you think last year's success, which was ahead of schedule, in his opinion, and the Clemson win set expectations so high that the fan base wasn't ready for just a winning record and a bowl appearance? Did we get a little overconfident? I guess is what he's asking.
Absolutely. I mean, you beat Clemson the opening game of the year, a team that we have not beaten since 2004 with that field goal kick. Then you mark off some good wins against a Northwestern team that revived themselves. Coach Braun, Coach of the Year for the Big Ten Graps. UConn, which, it is what it is. And then Lafayette, which it was in the schedule for years. You lead up to that Notre Dame game, Duke's got all the momentum. And that 10-2 prediction that Jordan Mann gave us at the beginning of the season, where we all kind of laughed at him, was becoming a reality until that 4th and 16 faltered and Riley had to win the game. And we all know what happened after that. So we got a little spoiled. And then after the Notre Dame game, it just kept going and going and going. But folks, if this had been the Duke of the 2000s, after that, it would have been game over. No more wins. It's how it used to be. So I see it both ways. We were spoiled, but it brought us back to reality of, hey, all it takes is one big injury and things could completely be thrown off the rails. So
let me follow Brian on this too. As far as where we're sitting right now with Mike Elko as the current head coach of Texas A&M, guess what? If we go 10-2, he's their first choice.
Bye.
He was gone Thursday instead of Sunday. That's all. That's the only difference. The only difference between us being 7-5 and us being 10-2, we would still be sitting here today. We would be 10-2. We would be going to the Orange Bowl, or we'd be about to get probably beat by Florida State again, if we're honest. But anyway, but we would be heading to the AC Championship game. We'd be all happy, but we would have lost our coach because he would have been their first choice. We know Elko was not their first choice. They went through a couple of candidates before they landed on him. But at the end of the day, I think we end up in the same spot. And so, like, I guess in a way, it's like, okay, take heart, Duke fans. Like, it was going to happen no matter what.
And
awkward silence. Awkward silence.
That's Josh's favorite thing, awkward silence.
At LA Dodgers all day. I thought this was a pretty good question. Sam coming in with this weekly question. In an attempt to hopefully avoid doing this all over again in 2 years, do we believe going after a coordinator who has no head coach experience increases or decreases the chances of it happening again compared to targeting a former head coach, or does it really matter at all? I don't think it much matters unless the former head coach you're targeting is like an older head coach, like what David Cutcliffe was, and he basically came to Durham and he was going to stay here, even though he did get offer from Tennessee at some point, but he was pretty much going to stay here. I mean, but unless you get an older guy that's just set in his ways and going to stay here, if you got a young coordinator or something, one of the hotshot coordinators, I mean, the chances are the bigger schools are going to be coming after him if he comes here and succeeds like Elko did.
I would say in 2023, if you can keep anybody more than 2 years, you're winning. That's a winning scenario in your favor. Because, like you said, like Josh just said, if you go 10-2 in a situation like that, you're going to become the number one on somebody's list. And if they're able to bring that Brinks truck to your back door.
I'm going to say this, Josh, get ready. NIL is the future of college sports. Well, not the future. It is the now of college sports. Folks, you see DurhamDevilsClub.com. Duke needs everyone's help to get the NIL where it needs to be. Do you really think Kurt Cigarettes, as I call him, from JMU, would have gone to Indiana had their NIL not been set up? By the way, they just got a $3 million donation. I didn't read the article, but my buddy Casey sent it to me. UC UConn, who we beat handily last year, they just got a $500,000 donation. So if I'm being frank, folks, if you want a coach to stay here in Durham, the NIL has got to be in place to where we not only retain players, but we can also bring in transfers from other schools that they might not be happy at, while also getting top-end recruits. And I think that there is part of where we are. It's just tough. It really is tough to have a young coordinator who, let's say, leaves I'm just throwing a school out here, leaves now I can't even think about it. Penn State. Let's just say Penn State. And I know Manny Diaz is there. But let's say we get a young coordinator. They come to Duke 2 to 3 years. If they're not set up for success, guess what? They're looking for their next opportunity. So it's tough. So I think the big thing is you got to bring in a coach, or a coach that comes in needs to feel that they can succeed, they can win, and they can continue to do that each and every year. Awkward silence again.
I wasn't ready. I promise I'm gonna have my finger pointer there on the unmute button next time. At TS Lester _ says he's gonna leave he who won't be named out of my question. Looking ahead, what are some things that we want the next head coach to change, either schematically, roster wise, or even like a game day experience wise? Shoot that to you, Josh. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, I think all the above, right? But I love game day experience, fan experience upgrades. I'm always going to be a fan of that. I think that getting butts in the stands, while it is not the most important thing, let me say that it is not the most important thing, but it is important. And here's the thing: that kind of energy leads to more things like fundraising, whether it be for new locker rooms and stuff in the Yo, or whether it be NIL fundraising or whatever it may be. I believe that putting butts in the seats and finding these fans at a young age, right? Finding these fans when they're in, grade school and getting them to Wallace Wade. To me, I would love to see that with a new coach, a really big push on like the organic growth of Duke football. I'll see what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Am I frozen?
No. Brian was frozen for like a minute.
I quit.
Brian got that dial up, man.
Set non-Google Fiber. But
Hey, Brian, tell your Bethany's got to get off the phone in order for your internet to work.
I will say this about the game day experience. Having gone to a couple of road games here over the last couple of weeks, we went to the dump over there in Chapel Hill. They don't even have Wi-Fi. Like, what the hell, dude? Like, you don't even have Wi-Fi. And I almost broke my ankle in their concourse because there's like giant holes like in the concourse. And as you can imagine, I'm not the most graceful person in the world. And almost went down. Up in Charlottesville, there, Scott Stadium there. It's a beautiful area for a stadium, but Wallace Wade to me is just better than both of those stadiums as far as fan experience when you're in the stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. It's comfortable. The concessions are nice. They've upgraded a lot of stuff around there. The one thing we've had a hard time doing is just actually getting the fans there to enjoy the game day experience at Wallace Wade. Next question at dude_in_Elville says, I'm 40 and grew up on Duke football just like us, going to games as a kid with his dad, who went to games as a kid with his dad. Do we feel like some fans are too unrealistic for their expectations for the program?
Hopefully I don't freeze. I mean, that's a double-edged sword because you've got some fans that have probably come in during the middle Cutcliffe era, had a few bad years, but then they get Mike Elko right after that. Whereas you have fans like us, and what was his name again, Jamie? I'm sorry. Anyway, we've been through the dark ages of Duke football. Again, I'm going to say it from 1995.
At dude in Elville.
Okay, dude in Elville.
I don't know his actual name.
He's a man, and he's 40.
I was just using his at. So
yeah, okay. But we've seen it all from 95 to 2000, and I'm going to say 2012 because Cutcliffe was having to basically rebuild the football program. It sucked. Then you have 2013 to 2018. Hey, we know how to win and go to bowl games and almost beat Texas A&M in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. Then you had the last 2 years of his reign where it was like, okay, we're getting back to the dark ages. Cutcliffe gets let go. Mike Elko comes in, and we have that resurgence. So we've got, and I said this in our Facebook post, we've got fans that have been Duke fans for 3 months, and you've got fans like us that have been fans for 30 plus years. So it just depends on who you ask. Now, the fans who think that we're going to go to the playoff, let's calm it down a little bit. Let's see who we bring on first and what they can do. So it just depends on who you ask, really.
All right. Regina Lee on Facebook. She says, what are the positives you see right now in how Duke, the players, and the staff are reacting? She wants to hear some positives. And she points out to Trey Freeman's tweet, and I was going to read that. And I think he had, what it was when I clicked on it, he had quote tweeted, and I saw it earlier. He had quote tweeted the Duke football account tweet where they were, where they had Dwayne, the campaign, Mr. President, in that video. And he says, man, thank you for being a great leader, captain these past years, and taking me under your wing and showing me the ropes and how to do things the right way. Love you for that. And he says, don't worry, big guy, I got it from here.
Yeah, man, that was awesome. There's been some positive things on social media. Nick Morris Jr., positive stuff. Samir Hagens, positive stuff. Jordan Moore, Trey Freeman, you mentioned. I mean, there's more. I shouldn't have started naming names. Grayson Loftus, with one more positive stuff. But all that to say, I do think the vibe right now. I mean, listen, these guys are hurt. These guys didn't appreciate the way things happened Sunday night in the Monday morning. But at the end of the day, they've got a bowl game, and we got a text from one of the players that just said, "Hey, let the noise be out there in the media that this team is going to come together, and they're going to win that bowl game." And so, like, that's all you can ask for. And here's the thing: the other thing that we have to respect is that these guys, their head coach, was with them Saturday for a win, and by Monday he was in Texas, being introduced as the head coach of a different school. If they choose to go somewhere else, or they choose to enter the portal, or if they choose to like try to figure it out and wait and see, maybe they even sit out the bowl game while they're doing that. Like, let's be patient with these kids. These are 18 to 22-year-old kids, and like, let's let them process the stuff. They buy in 100%, and then they really get the brunt end of this. And so, like, but I think there's positive vibes. They went bowling. This is Thursday night we're recording. They went bowling today, Trooper. as the interim head coach. They came to practice, and Trooper brought them in the room and asked them if they had gotten their bowling shoes yet, and they didn't know what was going on. You probably saw on social media. And he took them bowling today, and they had an incredible time. I think those guys needed that. So I think the vibes, honestly, inside are okay. And I think the quicker that Nina can figure out who she wants to be that next head coach, I think the pieces can be, melded together even better.
Well, you said it, Josh, 18 to 22-year-old kids. And to me, it would feel like your dad just up and leaving. Because we had a lot of guys, like we've had some DDC interviews with Dwayne, with Riley, and they've told us like they had one-on-one conversations with Mike Elko. And it wouldn't be about football. It'd be like, hey, how's campus life? How's your life? How are your parents? So to Josh's point, waking up on Monday being like, wait a second, this guy who invested the last 2 years of my life just up and left? What do we do now? And let me remind you, folks, some of these guys on this team have now gone through it twice. Once with Cutcliffe being let go, and now with Elko flying off into the sunset. So kudos to Trooper. I'm just going to basically repeat what Josh said. Their first actual bowl practice was going and bowling. I thought that was awesome to clear their minds, to show them, hey, we are here for you. We are going to get through this together. Whether Trooper's the next coach or not, he is showing that he is taking that interim term and running with it. So I think that's the positive. And folks, do us all a favor. Try to stop tweeting about Mike Elko. It's said and done. It's over. We're all hurt. But tweeting about that is not helping anyone. These kids see it. The parents see it. Let's just move on. Let's all move on, and let's try to be as positive as possible. I'm done.
Hey, one other thing, the team is going to be ready for the bowl game. Trooper mentioned that tonight. This team is ready. They're hungry. They want to prove what Duke football is all about. So that's one of the positive things that we've gotten so far out of the vibe. It is what it is. It sucks. I mean, I'm 47. It sucked for me, and I didn't have anything to do with it, but it sucked. So I can't imagine being in their situations. But the good news is the sun comes out tomorrow. There'll be a new guy in the spot here in a week or so, hopefully. And hey, Duke football is not going to change. We're not going to change. The fan base is not going to change. And that's one of the things that I love. I said this the other day on the thing Brian was talking about a few minutes ago. I love the fact that we are here in 2023 having to have this conversation about how many people love Duke football. 10 years ago, well, maybe not 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, this conversation wouldn't have happened for nothing. We wouldn't even be having this podcast 15 years ago if there was podcasts back then. But now in 2023, the passion is there. The love is there. Folks, we got to keep building on it. And we got to look out for each other. We're all a group. We're all a team. We're all Duke football. We may not be putting the jerseys on, but we're putting our butts in the seats. We're putting our eyes on the televisions. We're doing all that we do for Duke football. And that's what we have to do. We have to stay positive. And whoever the new coach is and whoever the new quarterback is and this guy and that guy and all that, we have to support Duke football. And it doesn't matter what the face is and what the name is on the back of the jersey. There's still Duke football, and that's what we need to do as Duke fans. We have to be there, support, cheer, text, tweet, whatever we got to do. And if the bowl game is where we can all get to, hopefully, praise God, we get down there wherever it is, and hopefully it's in Charlotte, and we go up there and we have a great time and we beat somebody's behind like we're supposed to.
All right.
And that's 3 times now. Come on, Jamie, be ready.
It's just this mute button's killing me today.
Blame COVID.
At Blade for Duke. And Scott, correct me if I'm wrong on this name, because I know you probably know it off of ACC PM. I heard Tom Luganbill.
Luganbill.
Okay.
Lugs for short.
Okay. Yeah, he said, I heard Tom Luganbill imply today on ACC PM that due to the transfer portal chaos, high school recruits have figured out that decommitting is risky business because they may find it tough to find a new home. Do we have any thoughts on this regarding our incoming recruits?
I actually heard him say that yesterday and thought that was just brilliant. And he is a recruiting guru. I mean, he is Jordan Mann to the infinite power. Okay. Jordan Mann is the guru that we know. Tom Luganbill is that guy, and he's a great sideline reporter and everything for ACC Network and ESPN and those guys. But he's totally right. These guys can't be willy-nilly anymore, and that's a crazy term, but they can't be
Cattywampus, because then they'll end up cattywampus.
There you go. So it can't be like that anymore.
It'll get all higgledy-piggledy.
I'm not even going to go any further. I'm just going to stop.
No, go ahead, Scott. I'm sorry.
What just happened?
Sorry,
what just happened?
It's an old SNL skit. I think it's SNL.
Oh,
I forget.
Well, yeah, it's got to be SNL. But yeah, I mean, this is the truth, though. You can't get out there anymore, and you're kind of playing with fire. You can't sit there and play one school against another school anymore like you could at one time. Now you almost have to take the commitment and stay with it, because just like if you get in the transfer portal, there's no guarantee your backside's getting selected by anybody, and you're sitting out there unemployed without a degree because of what? Because you transferred.
Okay, so let me dig into that. Scott set me up perfectly. We set it up. We set it up beforehand. We knew we were going to do this. No. So here's what it is, guys. We are in the year 3 of the COVID year. Okay, we're into the 3rd season where guys can have an additional year of eligibility. Now, I don't know the percentage of the guys that take that COVID year, but a lot of them do, and a lot of them are. And so what you have is here in this college football arena, you have a log jam of players, and you have a 6-year, 7th-year guy like Al Blades, and okay, let's be real. Al Blades and Miles Jones do not get to come to Duke if COVID didn't happen. They're already done. Jamion Franklin does not play at Duke if COVID doesn't happen. Cam Dillon is not back at Duke if COVID isn't. So what are those? Those are all scholarships that would be filled by recruits, right? By other. So like at the end of the day, we are seeing the fruit of this COVID year, and so I would say that it's not going to change until the COVID year's over, which I think this might be the last year, maybe one more. So
24 is the last year, because freshman in 2020, that's where it started.
Okay.
And the other thing is this: the old transfer rule, and fellas, correct me if I'm wrong. At least I know it was in back.
Yeah, well, Brian is dialing up that internet, man. I love it. So, Jamie Gillisgood, Brian, are you back?
I don't know if I'm back.
You're back. You're back.
God Almighty! I'm gonna have to call AOL and voice my displeasure.
You need to buy a new CD. I think you're running out of minutes.
Hey, I used to do that. A lot of us used to do that. But no, the transfer rule used to be you had to sit out a year when you transferred. That is no longer the case. It's basically, I'm going to UNC and I will play on that field the following year. I'm going to State. I'm going to Alabama. I'm going to Arkansas. So these incoming freshmen who already are behind the 8 ball because they've got to win a position against the upperclassmen now could be told, we don't need you anymore. We had someone transfer in. You're going to have to go elsewhere. Or you're going to have to redshirt for like 3 years, which I don't think they allow, but I'm just making a point here. So, yeah, I think some of these kids are very concerned when it comes to the transfer portal and getting that commitment, because just because you're recruited by an Alabama does not mean you're going to see the field your freshman year. Does not mean you're going to sniff the field your sophomore year. Heck, you might play half the games your sophomore or your junior year, and then you'll be a starter your senior year. That's how some kids, unfortunately, have it when they get recruited by the Saban.
And it's like Vince Vaughn and Rudy. I mean, he was supposed to be a talented running back, and he ended up not being even a third-string player, and the only game he really played in was the senior day.
Hey, and Rudy was offsides. All you GT fans, we understand.
All right, we got a few NIL questions here. This one's a good one for Josh, because it strictly is about the Durham Devils Club, who Josh has been working with. McManson 69. He says, "Okay, you keep pounding on us to support the Durham Devils Club. Explain to us how that helps recruit and retain players and how the NIL works.
Yeah.
He says it seems understandable as cryptocurrency.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the question. No. So let me just say this. First thing is, yeah, I do some work with Durham Devils Club. So let me be very honest with you. If you're listening to this podcast and you have a high giving capacity, and when I say a high giving capacity, I mean it would be nothing for you to give, let's say, $50,000 in a year towards the NIL or something like that. Then obviously the Durham Devils Club is legitimately out looking for your financial support, and it needs high level donors financial support. And by high level, that's what I mean. If you are listening to this podcast and you're like, look, man, I mean, after I pay my bills every month and after we do our thing, we got a little bit left in the tank, but I mean, I got just enough to maybe get Duke football, tickets and go to games and then, take my kids to a movie every now and then. And I don't really have much money to play with. Okay. The Durham Devils Club is still available to you and is still needed for you. And here's why: you get access to the program that you would not normally get. And so we need at the Durham Devils Club high level donorship. We also need low level donorship. And I love the way the football one is set up because anybody can be involved as little as a student at maybe $5 a month or a high level donor at multiple, maybe $100,000 a year or something. You can be involved in the Durham Devils Club. So here's how it works. The Durham Devils Club just started in August. It's legitimately in the fundraising stage at this point. Coming up in the next month or so, players will go under contract with the Durham Devils Club. There are currently going to be, let me just say this, but the previous coach, the way it was going to work, there was going to be between 28 and 32 players that were going to be under contract. They would be performing duties like making appearances locally at different events, doing autograph signings, social media posts for different partners, including the DDC, serving in the community by community service at schools and other places in the surrounding areas. All of those things would be what they would do. They would be working for their NIL. So it's not something that's just given, something where they would be, they're going to be taxed on it. Everything's above the table. There's no under the table stuff with Durham Devils Club. So in January, these players will begin getting on these contracts. Obviously, we're somewhat waiting on the next coach just to make sure that next coach would want to do it that exact way. But that's really what it's about. So we need $25 a month donors. Yeah, man, you get the podcast that we do with them. You get some extra stuff for sure. But if you have a high capacity of donorship, obviously your perks go up. And that's the way you play the game, right? The more you give, the more perks you get. And so that's the way it works. Once again, DurhamDevilsClub.com, or you can reach out to me, and I would love to walk you through it, answer any questions you have. But it's very, very important. You can see the graphic is back up. We had it up for a long time tonight. So, did I answer that question well? Is there anything to add to that, guys? You're very familiar with it as well. Anything to add?
I think you hit it pretty good, but we got another question that kind of follows up with it.
Okay.
Aaron Butner on Facebook has said, how has the NIL and transfer portal changed football, and how will it continue to change football? And I think we've all heard this, like, as far as the NIL is concerned, it's just like free agency in the NFL. You almost need a salary cap because, like, how are we going to be able to continue to compete with some of these larger schools? And it just keeps getting more and more and more and more. You know what I'm saying?
Can I just say something before I freeze again? Because I was going to say something after Josh was done. Folks, I found out tonight that Drake May's making $1.3 million. Around that. 8 miles down the road from Duke. Omarion Hampton, sophomore running back, around $625,000. Welcome to NFL Light. To Jamie's point, there does need to be a salary cap. When that's going to happen, no one knows. So it is basically a big free agency pool. You're seeing it on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram. Everyone's announcing, hey, I'm a free agent. Come with your offers. The best offer, I'll come take it, more than likely. So some of the old guard hates it. we don't mind it because we might be able to bring in players that we would have not been able to bring in 15, 20 years ago. But still, it's here to stay, folks. And until something's changed, it's going to be like this for the years to come.
Right. And how has it changed football? I mean, you literally have whether officially or unofficially, you have schools reaching out to players throughout the entire season. I mean, week one, they're reaching out to players. I mean, I thought it was hilarious that Pete Thamel says, now that Riley Leonard's in the transfer portal, I'm sure he'll talk to Notre Dame. Shut up, dude. Notre Dame has been coming after Riley for weeks. They probably started coming after Riley the moment he led that Duke team to a 14-13, score there in the fourth quarter at Wallace Wade. So, yeah, it's changed the trajectory of it. At the end of the day, regulation, to Brian's point, is needed. And I don't know how to do it, but a salary cap of some sort and then some clear parameters of when and how, I'm all for it. I'm all for transfer. I'm all for NIL, but I think there needs to be some restrictions around it.
Do you guys, really quick, do you guys think that there should be a transfer cap? Like you look at DJ Ukulele, as I call him. He went from Clemson to Oregon State, and now he's back open because he got his bag, as we say, from Oregon State, and they're probably bringing someone else in or a recruit. Oh, let me go get a bag somewhere else. Do you think there should be a cap on the amount of times you can transfer?
Yes, I believe so. Unless there's some sort of hardship like reason, like
What?
and the NCAA approves it. But other
Like
than that, I
Tez.
think it should. Yeah,
And,
like it should
and I think
just
they
be
need to get out of
once.
the middle of it.
Let me say this. This is if you say I'm a commissioner for a day and I can make a change, here's what I say. You can transfer one time in your undergrad career. One time. For whatever reason. The second time you transfer, you have to sit out.
I like it.
Yeah, and the NCAA, I mean, that is a great rule, and a lot of people have said something similar to that. Let's just say it as plainly as I can. The NCAA doesn't have the balls to do it.
And money
the huevos rancheros.
Yes. At Big Papa RV, this is another NIL question, a little different. He says, curious, how big does our annual NIL bag need to be competitive? Does it need to be 5 million? Does it need to be 20 million? And does the money have to come from the fan base? Which we know it does come from the fan base in a way, but also mainly I think they're looking at alumni and stuff like that. But I mean, fans that have never mind. Can the university fund it?
Money.
Yeah, money. They're looking at money. Can the university step in at all?
Yeah. Okay. Those are great questions. So currently, obviously, corporate sponsorships would be great. I believe the Durham Devils Club is heading in that direction for sure. They've not necessarily reached that yet, but that is one level. Obviously, high level donors. As you look at the affluent Duke, community, broad community base there. As of right now, the university cannot directly financially impact NIL. And so that is as of right now. I don't know if that will change. But so the university can't. So there are some potential things that may come down the pipeline. And that would be that maybe they could fund operational costs or things that weren't directly to the players. The universities could definitely not give money directly to players. So potentially operational costs. Here's another thing. I do know this, and I know we've praised Nina King, and I'm a Nina King fan, but I will say this. What can happen is phone calls to people that have high giving potential to say, hey, listen, I know we were going to upgrade the urinal in the basement of Cameron Indoor Stadium, but hey, let's try to build a football team. Maybe you could redirect that to the football NIL. I do think those things can happen. And that's what we're really fighting for at this point is some support on that level. But yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Big Papa. And that's kind of the Durham Devils Club thing. But right now, the university cannot have any direct impact or influence on the NIL. In fact, we have to stay very, very clear, defined, separate.
All right. Moving on. At Drew Chesh, with all the rumors floating around of us getting interest from Section 19, Section 14. I mean, I've even had interest from the Durham Bulls athletic park. I don't want to, the NIL deals are huge over there. But anyways, will we remain in Section 17 beyond this season? And I said I would make my decision within 24 hours. And I have signed. I can report I have signed an NIL deal with the Hard Hat guys.
Oh,
And I will be staying with the Section 17. Nah.
Do the Hard Hat guys know that?
They have not found it. I need to text Matt here.
Are you number 4 now? Are you the 4th hard hat?
Ooh,
There's going to be some people that are very upset.
You might have some competition there. Are you going to have to sit out a year and then take over Hard Hat guy number 4 the follling year?
Biscuitville sent some NIL stuff too. So
Look, Jamie, don't be tripping.
Yeah. Hey, the limo's left, fellas. Section 18, I guess, just couldn't wait for me. So I guess y'all are stuck with me another year. Sorry.
Well, no, I mean, Mescalito in Durham has offered me unlimited chips and salsa for life.
Ooh.
And I might be taking my talents there on Saturdays. I'm not sure. We're going to have to see. But we did tweet this. We were asked about us potentially transferring. And I did say we decided to not go 85 north to Charlottesville. And we also decided to not hop on a midnight plane to College Station. And we did decide to stick with this Duke University football team.
Hey, Angus Barn and J. Alexander Steakhouse, we are open to negotiate for NIL deals. Just throwing that out. Oh, and the Peddler. We got to think about Jamie and the Peddler. We can't forget.
We'll be major brand ambassadors.
Yes.
And we just need to start the Steakums. That's exactly what somebody's getting here in a couple of weeks is some Steakums on the grill.
Didn't they used to have the Steakums Bowl or something? Or maybe I'm just
I think they did back in the day.
Okay, I'm gonna have to
back
look
when they were really popular. Now they're not popular as much.
All right. At Duke Defender wants to know: is this the angriest we've seen Duke football Twitter over the past couple of days? And I might add Duke football Facebook. Our group is getting gets a little rowdy from time to time. But yeah, I think it is. But I think it's a positive thing too, because I mean it's showing that people care. People do care.
When did Twitter start? 2007? We didn't have much to tweet about from 2007 until 2013. So yeah. I think the last time folks might have been upset when there were rumors that Cut was going back to Tennessee. But it wasn't the type of anger that we're seeing right now. Because I truly believe had Cut taken the job at Tennessee, he would have done the right thing and had a press conference, announced he was leaving, thank everyone for the time that he was in Durham, and then he would have gotten on the jet to go over to Knoxville. So definitely the most angry we've ever seen Duke fans on social media.
All right, I got another one at Potato Not Turnip. I thought this was a good question because new listener says, I'm sure you will cover the next coach and is everything going to go to hell? So this week my question is, how did we get into Duke football? Are we grads or are we from the area? Said he's sure we covered it earlier, but he just started listening to the podcast this year. So I'll start. Obviously, I'm not smart enough to be a Duke grad. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there. But I am from Durham, and I've been going to Duke football games since around 1985 or 86.
21 years old.
Yeah, the Spurrier years were some good memories for me as a kid. So
I think we did this the very first episode, guys. Man, we're going back in time, but just for potatoes or turnips, was that his name?
Potato not turnip.
Potato not. I love the Twitter name. We have some interesting folks that come across. Yeah. So, excuse me. I am a 4th generation Duke fan. My grandfather moved to Durham around the 1930s, 1940s, and ever since when we grew up, we were told, love Duke, hate Carolina. Or sorry, Chapel Hill College. My first memory or experience with Duke football was an interesting one. I cracked my skull, as the guys joke. That's what's wrong with me. Cracked my skull in 4th grade. They sent me to Duke Hospital to get checked and evaluated overnight. While I was there, nurse came in the room. She said, hey, you've got visitors. Like, okay, well, who knows I'm here? She goes, nope, it's the football team. They're going around the children's ward and they're just wanting to sign some posters for the upcoming season. Sure enough, Coach Goldsmith and some of the guys came in, signed the poster, and as they say, the rest is history. So ever since then, win, lose, draw, sucky seasons, great seasons, it's been a fun ride so far.
All right. So my grandfather, my father's dad, was a security guard back in the day. And he always used to take the family, the kids, my uncles and aunts and my dad to Cameron because that was the job he had. He worked in Cameron. So they used to go watch basketball games and stuff in Cameron and in Wallace Wade when they were children. So we always asked, my brother and I always said, Dad, why are we Duke fans? And he said, well, if your grandfather had had a job over at Chapel Hill College, then you'd be Chapel Hill College fans. But by the grace of God, he got a real job at Duke, and now you're a Duke fan the rest of your life, and you can thank him for that. So you don't have to wear that freaking ugly light blue bull crap.
There we go, man. So mine started, I guess, before I was born. My dad went to high school with Steve Spurrier, Science Hill High School in Johnson City, Tennessee. They weren't best of friends or anything, but they knew each other. Then my dad moves us to here to Durham in 1983, in January of 83. Spurrier comes a couple of years later, and my dad really connects with him again a little bit, and then we become, Duke football. We were kind of Duke fans anyway, but we became, heavy Duke basketball and Duke football fans. My mom's family was Duke fans and all that kind of stuff. So did not get the opportunity to go to Duke, but have been fans through the good and the bad, as these guys have all said. I remember the 90s were kind of my prime Duke time there. I just remember the old school Wallace Wade where you could see the players, going to the locker room at halftime and after the game and all that kind of stuff, which was hilarious. So that's kind of our story. And then as far as the podcast story, if you're newer to the podcast, back in April of 2020, we did our first episode. We talked about it for about 6 months, probably in that end of the 2019 year. We're like, hey, we should do a podcast. No one's doing a podcast about Duke football. And we were like, hey, there's no way we're going to be able to get together, even though we're all local around Durham. No way we're going to be able to get together every week to record a podcast. So we're like, okay, cool. Then I'm not sure if you guys heard about this. But in early 2020, there was a global pandemic. You probably didn't hear about it, but it was called COVID. COVID came, and all of a sudden we discovered Zoom, and so immediately in April we began talking Duke football. We promptly go 3-9 or 2-9, 3-9. So we sucked, but we were, and so did the podcast, to be honest with you. But we were learning as we went, and then these last 2 seasons, as I said at the beginning, Mike Elko came in and really embraced us, helped us, gave us some opportunities. And here we are, and you're watching and listening to us for some reason, and we appreciate it.
One more question, and then we're done. Thank you, God. Wants to know our favorite play offensively, defensively, special teams, whatever. I will go first since I'm unmuted, and I will maybe take somebody's play. It's that Riley Leonard run against Clemson, of course. That was a spectacular touchdown run, and we will remember that for a long time, and still watch videos of it. Not that that's weird at all.
And favorite offensive or defensive play? I'm gonna have to go with the Jamison Crowder catch against UNC in 2012.
I think we were talking about this year.
This year. I'm sorry. I thought we were, going back in time. My apology. Favorite memory from this year would have to be the knee to end the game for Clemson. Folks, I cried. I don't do a lot of crying, but it was like from where, Josh, you can shake your head. I don't really care. I know you're not a man that cries a lot. I've seen him cry once, folks. If you come to church on Sunday, he does cry. He is a man, not a machine. But yeah, it was just one of those things. It's like you want a win to happen. And again, we've all been Duke fans for 30 plus years, and we've been expecting or wanting that win, that key marquee win. It just would never happen. And then when it finally happened, it was just like a flood of emotion. So it was an awesome night, Labor Day night.
All right, I'm going to go with my Scott. You'll get mad at me, dude. I'm going to take your play. My favorite defensive play. I'm going to let Scott have it. I'm going to let Scott have it because that's his boy. Do you know where I'm going? You know where I'm going, right, Scott? All right. So I'm gonna let him have it. I'm going to say, man, it was this season. I'm going to say probably my favorite thing was I'll go special teams since no one wants to touch that. Even though we lost the game, I think the two special teams plays in the UNC game this year, the fake punt to Terry Moore, and then the onside kick that we recovered. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It showed Duke fans that this Duke coaching staff and the team was in it to win it and didn't care. So I'll go with those. And Scott, if you don't pick the defensive play I think you're going to pick, I'll come back and say it.
Well, my pick would be the fumble recovery at UConn, where Big Wayne, the campaign, gets his second touchdown of the year. And for the record, special teams coordinator for the bowl game, if it's a 4th and 2, nobody else is listening to me. So just me and you talking right now, special teams coach. 4th and 2, hike the ball to number 90 and let him get the 2 yards. In fact, I even have a better idea. This is going to just be phenomenal. How about on a 4th and 1, we put number 90 at center and let him get 13 yards where he plows through everybody? There's a brilliant idea. Let's try something like that in the ball game. We're supposed to have fun in the ball game, right? There you go.
I got you one, Scott. I got you one, Scott. We'll just message Dwayne and say, listen, if you're in that same spot in a punt and it's 4th and 2, all he's got to do when he puts his hand out to hike is step over, grab the ball. It's going to hit him hard, but make sure he gets that ball and he can just take off right up the center. They don't even have to call it. He can call it on his own self. So anyway, yeah, I love that. I love that. Jamie, is that it? All right, cool. We're done with questions. Thank you. I mean, that was a crap ton of questions. Listen, guys, at the end of the day, we got a couple more things. We got to talk about our winners, both internally here. I cannot wait for that one. And then obviously for those of you who put your season stat predictions in beginning before the season started, we've got a tiebreaker we've got to get to here in just a second. But I do want to say this. Overall, guys, you know this. We keep it real about this program. We keep it real about Duke football. We are supportive of Duke football. We understand our role with Duke football. Every single one of us was frustrated, mad, angry, upset with everything that happened Sunday night into Monday morning. None of us like it when we see a player hit the transfer portal. None of us like it, but we have to respect it. We have to come to grips with it. None of us like when we hear Duke get kind of run down in the media, or when Riley Leonard, they're like, oh yeah, he can get away from Duke where he can really flourish. Like, we don't like to hear those things. But at the end of the day, I hope you appreciate us being as real as we possibly can be. There's obviously maybe some things that we say, in our group text that we don't share on here, but we try to be as real as we possibly can be. And we hope you guys appreciate it. So if you do appreciate it, you're watching us on YouTube, would you like and subscribe? Maybe leave us a comment on YouTube. There also, if you're listening on Apple, would you rate and review? We need both there. Reviews are incredible on Apple. And then if you're on Spotify, you can rate us. Our Spotify, we're going to share, probably by the time you see this, it will already be shared, our Spotify numbers and how much we increased last year to this year. We really appreciate it. Then on Facebook, you can search Duke Football Talk. We're at Duke FB Talk everywhere else. But we really do appreciate the support, guys. And we've expanded this year. YouTube was new. Brian's doing stuff with Freddie Hodges over at Blue Devils blog, Duke Report. I'm doing stuff with the Durham Devils Club. We have some different irons in the fire, Locked On Blue Devils and other things like that. But we really appreciate it. This is what we love doing. We do those other things because of school. We love doing this, and we appreciate you guys following along this season. And we, as Brian said earlier, crossing our fingers, we hope to be at the bowl game. Depending on where that is, the Gasparilla Bowl could cause some issues, but everything else, we would hope to be there and see you there tailgating with us.
Unless it's San Diego, because that'd be a 3-day drive for Jamie. I don't know if he could do
We
it.
ain't going to San Diego, man. That ain't happening.
Well, let's get to some predictions really quick. We did have a game last Saturday. We almost forgot. And we do have some prediction winners for the Pitt game. I sent them to Scott. I did not write them down. Scott, if you have them, go ahead and tell them because I fumbled on this one. Gotta love it. Do you have them, Scott?
I can tell you who they were. Yes.
Go right on ahead then.
So I can't tell you where they're from, but I can tell you who it was. Give me 1/2 second because I was not prepared to do this.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Good, because I found it now, of course.
Yeah, of course. Always happens. Hopefully I don't freeze. On Twitter, Crazy Talk at Crazy Talker, he predicted Duke to win 30-23. So that was what, 4 points off. So good prediction there. On Facebook, Chris McLaughlin, he's already won before, so he got it again. He predicted Duke to win 31-20. And then on Instagram, this is a good one. Hari Iyer in the house, 824. Oh, yeah. Hari Iyer in the house. If I butchered that, I am so sorry.
I can't even respond, dude.
They predicted Duke to win 31-23. So Scott's actually already reached out to those folks since we're recording later in the week. Congratulations. We will have one more prediction for the season, and that will be for our upcoming bowl game. Now, let's get to the topic at hand, the season prediction game that we did at the beginning of the year. First, we're going to talk internally. The four of us and Jordan Mann put down who we thought would lead the team, receptions, passing yards, which was a complete train wreck, rushing yards, sacks, interceptions, and then we had some side bets to go along with it. Will Duke beat or have a winning record against the in-state rivals? Will they win 5 or more games on the road? Just a few of those. I can't remember them all. Scott, were you wanting to say something before I get too deep into the weeds here with this?
Well, are you going to spin the wheel for the last?
That'll be after.
You're going to do it afterwards? Okay.
Yep. We're going to go internally first, and then we're going to see who wins the fam one. You're good.
Well, none of us care about that. We just want to go ahead and spin the wheel so we can see who actually won that we care about.
Well, because humbly, he's already been humble this week once I figured out who was going to win. No, folks, Jamie has been dethroned. There will not be a three-peat. The Bulls will not go back to Titletown. For the first time, I think, since we've done this. Well, he was a part of the tie in the first season. That didn't count. One Mr. Josh Little Cox won the predictions between the 5 of us. So we will be taking him out to McDonald's for a hefty McRib sandwich. That is meat. It is steak. So we hope you enjoy that. No, in all seriousness, Josh really did a good job. Jordan Moore was the deciding factor because he picked Jordan to pick or win. God, now I can't talk. It's past my bedtime. Win all 3 categories for receiving. He was the only one to do that. He won by 2 points over the rest of us. So, Josh, go ahead. Give your victory speech before we get to the fans.
Yeah, your boy JC here with that dub. No, I want to thank my sponsors, Chi Chi Salsa, Harris Teeter brand tortilla chips, Coke Zero, definitely a sponsor. I don't have a Coke Zero here with me. I wish I did. I'd like to thank my other sponsors, Big and Tall section at Target. That's my other sponsor, and Hey Dudes, got them. Crocs, all my other sponsors. I'm trying to look at my NASCAR over here. I'm not sure all my sponsors I can thank.
Subaru.
Subaru. I want to thank all the players' mamas.
Where are you going with that?
And dads, and families for just all your support. So anyway, but no, I do appreciate it, guys. I'm looking forward to a ribeye. I'm a ribeye guy. I like my ribeyes, fairly thick, medium rare, maybe some mushrooms on the side. And I'll be looking forward to this. Now,
if we do go to Charlotte, are we going to try for a third time to go to that steakhouse? That Japanese
we will not go to that Japanese steak, but we can go to another one. And I want to make sure Jordan can come with us because Jordan needs to be in on this. It also helps you guys to divide up my meal
Yes.
a little bit easier if
Jordan,
there's another
Jordan,
person.
please, buddy, please make it if we are in Charlotte.
No, in all
right.
seriousness, honestly, I suck at stats. And when Brian put on the group text who won, I was surprised. Usually, out of these 4 guys right here, I am not your stats guy. So I won this year. Thank you, Jordan Moore. I love you, the whole family. Jaden, can't wait for you to get to Duke and all that good stuff. So be ready
Are
to
we
go, Brian.
done? Come on.
Be
Yeah,
ready, man. Let's wrap it up, man.
I would like a recount.
Sorry,
Ridiculous.
Jamie. Yep. Okay,
Dick.
so now to the fans. We had 53 entries this year. That more than doubled last year. So, folks, thank you for your entries. We'll do this again next year before the start of the 2024 season. We've got a 3-way tie, fellas. We can't give everyone a helmet. We can't give everyone we could give them a Section 17 shirt. We might do that. Nah, only one winner. Only one winner. So there were 3 people that tied, and here they are. Harrison Chabinski, I hope I pronounced that last name correctly. If not, I'm sorry, Harrison. Brian Walsh, and to no one's surprise on this podcast, the man who has the Section 17 store at his house, Big Papa RV. Big Papa, buddy, please tweet me, text me. I need to get some Powerball numbers, bud. I don't know what it is you do, but I need some help. I need to win some money like you're winning our T-shirts, bud.
I love it when you call me Big Papa.
So I've got the wheel up. I have not spun it at all. I'm going to share my screen. The modern technologies of StreamYard. Can we see it? Let's share it. It should be coming up. There it is. So
guys, you know the internet cannot handle a screen share.
I quit.
No, he's back.
I quit.
Yes, he's back. All right, Brian, you're good. You're good. You better
Okay,
go.
let me get this done. I'm going to spin. Good luck to all 3 of you. Here we go. And what do you know? The Big Papa wins yet again. We promised we did not rig this at all. This is a random generalizer, whatever it's called. Nope, sorry, we're not spinning it again. Let me unshare my screen. Big Papa, we will reach out to you. I've got the helmet, the custom Section 17 helmet. Scott's got the shirt. We'll try to figure out how to get it to you sooner than later. So again, folks, we really appreciate you being a part of the season predictions game that we started at the beginning of the year. Be on the lookout. We'll be doing it again next year before the start of the 2024 season.
Hey, real fast, just so everybody's aware, the first week we did this, nobody was local that won.
Mm-hmm.
This week, all 4 people are within a 20-mile radius of Wallace Wade Stadium. That's amazing, just how that stuff works.
So what I'm hearing is if you come to the games, you have a better shot at winning prizes from the Section 17 crew. Just throwing that out there. It's been another good episode. We're not done yet. Well, we are done, but we're not going to be done as far as episodes. We're going to have a preview episode for our bowl opponent, and then we're going to have a reaction episode after that. We honestly don't know when our next episode will be. It'll probably be when they announce the next coach, whether internal or external candidate, with our reaction. We'll probably do like we did last year, have some clips from the press conference of said candidate being hired. We will probably be at the press conference whenever that is, so be on the lookout for that. Guys, did I miss anything before we sign off tonight? Good?
No, just a really big thank you. This has been a great season, no matter how it ended. And you guys really helped us. Seriously, this was by far the most fun we've had doing this year. So thank you so much.
Scott?
I would say that, I don't get to preach on Sundays, so it's nice to be able to preach on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, whatever night that we have the podcast. It's very nice to be able to do this. But yeah, thank y'all everybody for logging in and watching, and we appreciate every last one of you. Appreciate all the positive energy that you've given us, all the positive thoughts over the last 3 years, and just thank you again. Thank you to this. I'll the last episode I'll go through all the other things where I give my 30-minute worth of people I want to thank.
I would like to thank all the little people that I stepped on to get here. No, thank everybody for listening. Thanks for following us on Twitter, social media, Facebook. Thanks for putting up with my tweets if you follow my personal account. Sorry about that. I deleted some of those tweets.
Shout
Sorry
out
about
Katie. Shout out Katie.
I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible because I'll be damned if AOL Spectrum, whoever, is not messing with me on this last regular season episode. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our special guests that have come on this year. We have upped our game as far as interviews go. We're only going to make that better as we head into the 2024 season. But thanks for the participation, like the guy said. Each and every year we have had more fans participate with us, interact with us, come see us at the games. We're hoping to see you guys at the bowl game if it is close and not the Gasparilla Bowl. Please, Duke's Mayo Bowl, if you're watching, pick us. But we really want to thank each and every one of you. It's been a great season. Regular season, we're not done. And while it didn't end on the terms that we had hoped it to, we still got one more game left. And we will be bringing all of that to you, as well as our reactions to the new Duke head coach, whoever that may be, whenever that may be, will be our next episode. But for Josh Cox, Jamie Holt, for Scott Medlin, and producer Justin Sykes, I'm Brian Kennedy, and this has been another episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast.